Hey everybody, it's your boy Fox Dream Master. I'm back. I just got home from watching Spider-Man No Way Home. I need a minute to take it all in before I drop a massive, mega nothing but spoiler video on you. Seriously, oh my god! Spider-Man No Way Home was absolutely insane. Into the Spider-Verse level crazy, man. Not lying about any of it. But I'm starting this video by dropping one of the biggest bombs and the happiest moment. Probably okay, maybe not the happiest moment in the movie, but I am confirming 100% that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in the movie as their respective Spider-Men, and it was crazy. It was so awesome. I mean, seeing all three of them together was magic, pure magic. Even if it did come at even if it did come at like one of the saddest, lowest points in the movie, it was still worth it. Oh my god, it was. Oh, right when Holland's Peter was at his absolute lowest. I mean, 100% down. The others would show up and help him through this dark time in his life, and it was just beautiful. And seeing the three of them work together and the fighting together, and it was beyond incredible. Oh, okay. Now that I got that out of my system, let's talk about the rest of the movie. Pretty much picks up where the last one left off, like right exactly like the minute it left off, with him dropping Mary Jane off, looking up at this jumbotron and seeing the entire world knows his secret now. And you spend the next 30 minutes watching Peter's life pretty much fall apart. Well, not 30, more like 45 minutes maybe. Watching Peter's entire life fall apart to the point where, yeah, everyone either loves him or hates him. Most people think he's a monster, a criminal, whatever. Yeah, it's a pretty rough start, and it doesn't get any better as the movie progresses. I mean, Peter just gets, I'll be honest, he gets Peter the entire movie. I mean, just one kick after another. I mean, oh. Everyone finds out who he is. All these wild speculations being thrown around about him, his powers, his cohorts, if he is or isn't a murderer. And I feel great. That'll be fine. So then we fast forward to him going to back after he and his friends don't get accepted to MIT for obvious reasons, with everything that's going on with him being Spider-Man, being out of the Spider-Man. Nobody kind of wants that heat, so it pretty much implodes his and his friends' lives, and he goes running to Doctor Strange for help. And well, if you saw the trailer, you know what happened after that. He tries to alter the spell while he's making it, and it just blows up in his face. And literally like 5 minutes after that happens, he runs off to try to fix what he broke. He runs off and tries to help out his friends, and that's when he runs into Doc Ock. And again, if you saw the trailer, you pretty much saw the fight. It was a great fight, seeing him and Otto go at it. And his fight with Octavius on that overpass was awesome. Not the best fight in the movie, but it definitely brought back a lot of memories of the Maguire era. Sorry, bleeding. You don't need to see that. I'll probably edit that out. And here's the weird thing. If you saw the trailers, you saw Doc's tentacles go red from absorbing some of Peter's suit's nanotech. And that's where it gets kind of weird, because then he takes control of Ock's tentacles instead of Ock's tentacles taking control of him, which, well, you saw all that. So So just as Peter has Ock wrapped up literally in his own arms, which is pretty much how he's going to be for the rest of the movie. It was pretty funny. Uh, Peter, due to the loss of nanotech in his suit reconfigures so that his mask comes off. The nano, and that's how Ock finds out that he's not his Peter. And yeah, another thing, all the people who were wondering if these were the same movie villains that were from the previous Spider-Man movies, you're totally right. They are. I'm The movie implies that most of them were pulled from just before the moment that they died. Like when actually after Spider-Man fights Doc Ock, and he almost ends up fighting Goblin, but Strange portals them away and locks Ock up along with the Lizard. Spider-Man and him have a chat, and he tells him, "Okay, you fucked up the multiverse." I mean, again, you've seen the trailer. You saw what he said to him in the trailer. That's basically that's basically the conversation. Tells Spider-Man, MJ, and Ned to go Scooby Doo with this shit. Round up these multiverse villains, and I'll send them back. Which is exactly what he does. He swings out. He swings out to a power station and fights Electro. Only to have Sandman pop up and help him with that. Then they all portal back to Strange's place, where Strange is about to send them. Where the villains start discussing Spider-Man and their battles with him, and they all start to come to realize that, oh my God, we were all about to die when we popped up in this universe. And the whole time Electro's got that hungry eye, like, oh man, there's something really powerful in this universe, and I like it. I like it a lot. Like, like he was iron energy in Holland's universe, like he was at an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he was hungry. So that Holland, Spider-Man, and Strange start discussing sending these guys back to their universes, which would fix everything that's happening right now. Because if they don't, more and more people who know Spider-Man's identity from the multiverse are just going to keep getting pulled into this universe. And if that happens, yeah, well, again, everyone who knows Spider-Man's identity getting pulled into one universe, I don't think the universe can handle that volume. Yeah, let alone New York City. I mean, just saying, like, okay, I'm ranting. So Spider-Man realizes Strange wants to just send these guys back and let them face their fates and die at the hands of the other Spider-Man. But Holland Spider-Man isn't gonna let that happen. He doesn't want to let that happen. After meeting Norman Osborn, while he's sane, like before the Goblin, like he's going back and forth between the Goblin taking over and him taking over. I'd say this Norman Osborn was probably pulled from midway through the original Spider-Man movie. So he's still going back. Control of Norman is going back and forth between him and the Goblin. And Norman goes to Aunt May for help. I mean, he's trying to find Peter Parker, Spider-Man, to help him and try to save him. And Aunt May tells him that it's your responsibility to help these people, even if they are your enemies and all that. Everyone deserves a second chance. So Peter reluctantly agrees to not send these guys back without trying to help them first, which ends up causing him and Strange to have kind of a fight in the mirror dimension, and that fight was good. I mean, just besides the visuals, watching Peter and Strange fight all over Manhattan, and then for some reason the Grand Canyon, I didn't really get that part of the Strange. Peter actually figures out a pattern to the next. Peter actually figures out that I don't know if Stranger's doing it consciously, subconsciously, or consciously, but he figured out that there was a there's a geographical. He figures out that that it was a geometric pattern to the mirror dimension, and he starts using that to his advantage, which he uses to tie Strange up for about, according to him, 12 hours, suspended over the Grand Canyon in the mirror dimension. And in that time, Peter escapes the mirror dimension, goes back, and takes all the villains to, oh, let's be honest, it's Happy's apartment, since his apartment's swarming with reporters, and yeah. Then things kind of start to get a little better. They fix Doc. The villains all agree that they don't. Well, not all of them agree. That they all agree that they want to go home, but not before Peter tries to help them. You know, Spider-Man do. So they go to Happy's. They go to Happy's place. He still got some. He still got the Stark Tech fabricator from the plane in Spider-Man Far From Home that Peter used to make his suit. So they use that to start whipping up cures for everybody. He fixes the inhibitor chip on Doc Ock's neck. He makes a serum to help stabilize Green Goblin. But right when he's about, and he even makes some kind of dampener for Electro that will suck off that will stabilize him and return his electrical field to normal, so he won't have it, and return Max Dillon normal. Who? Oh, Jamie Foxx, by the way. Oh my God, he was just constantly, almost not constantly hilarious, but like he's pretty. I mean, they really, unlike this Amazing Spider-Man 2, they actually did Electro justice in this movie. I mean, somehow the energy in this dimension stabilizes him, so he's not that he's not that freaky blue color anymore. Like he's physically back to normal. Not well. Plus an extra, like, maybe 50 pounds of muscle and some great facial hair and all that. Yeah, looking good. Jamie Foxx was looking good as Electro in this movie. Not lying. But it's Electro and Green Goblin who kind of flip everything on everybody. And Electro realizes, I don't want to give up this power. I want to be a god. Like, you can see him going back and forth throughout the entire time he's with Peter. Like, I want this power. I don't want this power. But then, right when Peter's about to cure Goblin, he reveals, oh yeah, I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm the Green Goblin. You're not gonna cure me. You're so weak. You're pathetic. Your morality. Blah blah blah. He starts, doing his Green Goblin rant, the same rant he did, and he starts going on the same rant about morality and power that he spilled to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And then he proceeds to rampage through the entire apartment complex that Happy lives in and starts trashing the place. And all the other villains they're like, okay, we out of here. Let's just get out of here. And then the Lizard busts out, and everybody escapes and goes running through the city and into hiding, while Peter fights Goblin throughout the apartment complex. And sadly, Aunt May does not make it. Yeah. Aunt May gets injured in the fight, and Goblin gets away. And Peter just is absolutely 100% devastated. And nobody can find him. Like, MJ can't find him. Ned can't find him. So, weirdly enough, Ned accidentally finds out that he can use magic. And he starts opening a portal to try to find Peter. But, to find Peter Parker. But it's not the Peter Parker he was expecting. Yeah, the first Peter Parker that pops up is Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. And then he tries it again, and Tobey Maguire Peter Parker pops up. And they both do this. They have this little moment, just like in Into the Spider-Verse. You don't actually see or hear their spider sense go off, but they give each other this kind of same look that that Miles and Peter had did that all the spiders have in Into the Spider-Verse when they meet each other and the spider sense kind of goes off. You get that same vibe. And then they both shoot webs at each other to test to see that, okay, yeah, you are Spider-Man too, just like I thought. And so then they start talking to Ned and MJ about the Peter of this reality, about Holland, about Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Like, is there anywhere he would go to be alone? Like they do. Like, they both hang out on the Empire State Building, Chrysler Building, and that's their thing. That's in their universes. That's where they go to think. And then MJ realizes she knows where Peter is. He, they go, so they go, so they go to, and they finally find Holland Peter, and the other two, and Maguire Spider-Man and Garfield Spider-Man tell him give him a pep talk. They tell him it's not his fault. You were just trying to help. And once again, we get those famous lines: "With great power comes great responsibility." Peter, those were Aunt May's dying words to Peter. Not a bad twist. Still, just utterly heartbreaking watching May die. And then they both tell Peter. All the other two Spider-Man, Garfield and Maguire, tell him that, yeah, they tell him about the people they lost. Maguire talks about how he lost Uncle Ben, and Garfield talks about how he lost Gwen, and they both talk about how they blame themselves and how even though they both wanted vengeance, and they both talk about how it wouldn't make them feel any better. How it wouldn't make him feel any better if he got vengeance on Goblin for killing Aunt May. And so they finally decide, okay, once Peter calms down and they all, sit down for a minute and talk, they decide we're going to do what you originally wanted to do, and we are going to cure all of these guys. We are going to change their fates, even if one or two of them don't really deserve it. So they get together in a lab and they start working on cures for all the villains. They rebuild some of the equipment, and they rebuilt the equipment that was destroyed when Holland tried to cure everyone. And they built some new equipment, and they just they have this little bonding moment of Peter Parker all out just straight up nerdness, where they're all in the lab talking about, what y'all just kind of sitting around talking. And then we fast forward to the final battle at the Statue of Liberty, which, I'll be honest, this was a great moment for me because we see them all suited up, and they're just kind of just sitting around waiting for the villains to show up after Holland announces to the world on a live stream that he's waiting for the villains at the Statue of Liberty, and that he's going to give them one last chance because his Aunt May told him that everyone deserves a second chance. So while they're waiting for the villains to show up, they have a little chat about their careers as Spider-Man. Holland talks about being an Avenger, fighting Thanos, and that, and being all the stuff and that stuff. Garfield talks about well, Maguire. No, I gotta cut back to no. Maguire talks about how he fought Doc Ock and Green Goblin and Venom. That Venom. And then Garfield starts talking about oh, you guys have fought all these great villains, and I kind of feel like I'm not that great. You guys are awesome, and I'm just lame. And then Maguire's like, no, you're not lame. You are amazing. You are an amazing Spider-Man. And he's like, say it. You are an amazing Spider-Man. And Maguire gives Garfield Spider-Man a pep talk. And they get psyched up and they start playing. They got their battle plan ready. They got the cure set up all around the Statue of Liberty so that when the villains show up, they can start, curing everybody and getting ready to send them all home. And At first, things don't really go their way. Electro shows up first, and then Sandman shows up, and then no, and then the Lizard shows up, then Sandman, and they're trying to fight all three of them, and it's just utter chaos. They are totally not in sync. They're just swinging around trying to fight these villains one on one, and it's not working because they're getting in each other's way. They're crossing web lines. People are running into other people's attacks and web lines, and it was utter chaos. So they have to so they take a minute and they regroup, and they finally get into it, and they finally get into formation, and they decide to go after the villains one at a time. And yeah, it works. Like they take out Sandman, they cure him, turn him back to normal. They gas the Lizard and turn him back to normal. But Electro, yeah, he gets a hold of the arc reactor that's powering. He actually got a hold of the arc reactor that was powering the fabricator in Happy's apartment, and uses it to basically overclock himself, power himself up. I mean, you've seen the trailers, you saw him, he looked awesome, right? And so the spiders are having a bit of trouble handling him, but then Doc Ock shows up and offers to help. Electro's like, man, no, I got this. He's like, oh no, I went here to help you. Grabs the arc reactor off Electro, sticks the inhibitor back on him, and boom, Electro done. And then finally, when everything's starting to calm down and it looks like they're in the home stretch, Goblin shows up. Yeah. Norman Osborn shows up and just starts blowing stuff to hell, honestly. And Doctor Strange shows back up too, and he's like, okay. And he's about to press the magic button and send everybody back to the universes, but MJ and Ned stop him and like, wait, they stop. They got a plan. Meet the other, and they've got a plan. It's working. See, the villains are being depowered. Don't stop them now. So Doctor Strange meets the three Spider-Men and agrees to let them finish the fight. So they take on Goblin, and I mean, honestly, they take him out pretty quick, and and I'm not sure. And they take on Goblin and they knock him out of they take out his glider. And they decide to let Holland finish this because even though it's Maguire's Goblin, he killed Holland's Aunt May, so they want to let him finish the fight with Goblin. And I mean, dude, him and Goblin start going at it like back and forth. I mean, it was a good fight. Well choreographed, well done. And man, right at the last minute, just Holland starts hammering Goblin just left, right, doom, puts him on the ground, picks up Goblin's glider, is about to once again impale Green Goblin on his own glider. But then Maguire jumps in, and Garfield and Maguire look at each other and they're like, we can't let him do this. We know how this ends. If he does this, he's gonna either end up like he's gonna end up going down the dark path, and we can't let that happen. So Maguire jumps in and stops him right at the last second. Grabs the glider and talks him down, and just kind of calms him down so he doesn't kill Green Goblin. And then Green Goblin stabs him in the back. And then Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in the back. Luckily, not fatal. Hurt like hell. I don't know how he didn't kill him, but it was not fatal, luckily for him. I mean, but everybody in the theater, we all gasped. We thought he was going to die for sure. We was freaking out. I heard people, it was crazy. My brother, never mind. So, yeah. And then then Garfield tosses Holland the antidote for Goblin, stabs him in the neck, and boom, no more Green Goblin. He falls to the ground in just in shock and awe of what he's done, and he and he looks Peter in the eye with so much remorse and sorrow, and just tells him, and he just, what have I done? I'm so sorry. You know, you know, typical, Willem Dafoe awesomeness. And then things get bad. Like, I mean, the battle's over and everyone's subdued or ready to, or given up. And then the multiverse kind of starts to collapse in on itself. The sky starts ripping open. Strange is trying to hold back the entire multiverse from collapsing into one universe, but he can't do it. He can't hold them back, and there's only one way to save the multiverse from being destroyed. Peter Parker has to be forgotten by everyone. Yeah. Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Well, everyone's gonna know who Spider-Man is, but no one's gonna remember who Peter Parker is. It's the only way to stop the multiverse, stop from collapsing in on each other with the amount of time they've got left. So Strange starts to cast the spell. First, he lets Peter say his goodbye to the other two Spider-Man and to Mary Jane and Ned. So Holland jumps down and has a very tender moment with the other two Spider-Man, and they say their goodbyes. They talk about they wish each other luck. They give each other all one big Spider-Man group hug, and then he hops over to Ned and MJ, and he tells them that they are going to forget him, and that no matter what, he is going to find them and he'll fix it. You know, he's Spider-Man, so he's going to set things right eventually. So Strange casts the spell to send everyone back. Strange casts the spell to send all the people who are already there back to their respective universes, and they all fade away. They wave, the Spider-Man wave goodbye to one another, and they go back. They all get zapped back to their respective universes, along with their villains and their proper places in time. And then Strange casts the spell, the repair spell, to make everyone forget Peter Parker, himself included. So he casts the spell just as the sun comes rising up over New York City, and that's it. Peter swings away, and nobody knows who he is anymore. We fast forward. I'd say, probably a month or two. I'm not sure. They don't really tell you. We fast forward some time ahead, and Peter is walking through New York City. He walks into MJ's job. Ned walks in right behind him, and neither one of them recognize him at all. He has a quick conversation with Mary Jane and Ned and congratulates them on getting into MIT, and he really does want to say something to them about who he is, and he's got this whole speech prepared in his pocket, and he's been going over it again and again and again. But in the moment when he looks them in the eye and he sees how happy they are, and he sees how that, and he just can't drag them back into the craziness of his life as Spider-Man. So he orders a coffee and he walks out the door. In typical Peter Parker selflessness fashion, he lets go of what he wants to give others a better chance, a happier day, or, it's what Peter Parker does. So Peter moves into an apartment. We don't see the landlord, but I really kind of hope it was Mr. Dankovich. And since he also doesn't have any, so he sets up his new apartment and makes a new suit. And we see Peter take his new suit out for a spin at the end of the movie. It's it's clearly an homage to the other two Spider-Man because he sees how awesome their suits were. So he pretty much just makes his own version of the comic book suit, the classic red, blue, spandexy suit. But it's got his eyes and stuff. It was you don't get a very clear view of it in the movie at the end, but it looks so good. You know, and that is more or less the that's pretty much what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home. There actually are two more scenes, the after credit scenes where Peter goes. Wait, no, that was in the after credit scene. Yeah, there's two after credit scenes, and they're really hilarious. One is Eddie. Well, if you saw Venom Let There Be Carnage, you know that Venom at the end, Venom got popped into Spider-Man's universe as well, and he was sitting at the bar discussing the entire MCU lineup and all the heroes with the bartender, and he's sitting there talking, and you get Venom in his head talking about all the heroes. He's like, wait, so there's a billionaire. He's talking to the bartender about all the Avengers and all their abilities and powers. When he gets poofed away, and here's the fun part. There's when Eddie gets poofed away back to his dimension. There's a bit of the symbiote left behind. So yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be in the next Spider-Man movie, but coming down the pipe, we are going to see Peter get the symbiote suit, and it will be an offshoot of the Venom from Eddie Brock's universe. Yeah, and also the final after credit scene is actually not an after credit scene. It's actually the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You have if I've already uploaded it on YouTube. I posted it on my. I better shut up. I'm gonna not say where I posted that, but I'm probably gonna post it later. I gotta be honest. The movie was just utterly insane. I mean, this was a great movie. I mean, and the performances by the cast members and seeing all three Spider-Men together was just more joyous than I can say. Even though they came in at a heartbreaking moment in the movie, it was honestly worth it. It was what Peter needed to get back on his feet. He needed the support of someone who knew what he was going through, and he got two of them. But yeah, I was sad to see Aunt May go. Yeah, watching her die in the theater, I swear I'm not kidding. I heard a couple of people crying. I mean, I was pretty solid myself. It was a really sad moment, and I was not expecting it. And yeah, but I'm be honest, I cannot wait to see where they go with Spider-Man from here. I mean, we know he's definitely going to be getting the symbiote suit sometime in the future, thanks to Venom's little accidental present left behind. And now that nobody knows who Peter Parker is, in a total Mephisto move, by the way. I like how they adapted that, by the way. I like how they adapted the deal with Mephisto's story from Spider-Man, but I kind of wish they brought Aunt May back to life. I really hope that in some way, at some point, that they can bring Aunt May back. I mean, because this basically really was. This was a Marvel redo of the Civil War story of Spider-Man story after Civil War, of him being outed as Peter Parker and his family suffering the consequences of that. And I really like that. I like what Marvel did with it, like, him having to erase everyone's knowledge of him as not only Spider-Man, but as Peter Parker. So it actually took the deal he had with Mephisto in the comics and bumped it up to another level of sorrow for Spider-Man. If you haven't read that, or you don't know the story or the backstory for that, after the Civil War in the comics, Spider-Man outs him during Civil War in the comics. Spider-Man outs himself. Spider-Man sides with Iron Man at first, then outs himself in front of the entire world, which results in all the villains coming after him, and Peter Parker decides to switch sides and join Cap later on, but that's neither here nor there. But the results of him outing himself to the world ends up getting Aunt May shot by a sniper who was trying to kill him in the process. And, Spider Sense goes all tingly and he dodges the bullet. Aunt May gets hit and is slowly dying. The only way for Peter to... And Peter tries everyone he knows for help to fix it, and no one can help him. So finally he makes a deal with the demon Mephisto. But the cost of this deal is that the cost of rewinding time and taking away everyone's memory of Peter Parker being Spider-Man was his love for MJ, which they kind of do in the movie with him, which kind of is similar to what happens to him in the movie, where MJ also forgets that he's Spider-Man and she, has no relationship with him anymore. But he still has, and just like in the original, just like in the comics, Peter still has his memory of his time together with MJ, but the love is just gone in the comics. In the movie, he just lets her go. I mean, he realizes that, yeah, she's probably better off without me. But I feel like, let's be honest, they're gonna get back together, or he's gonna meet, or maybe he'll meet Gwen Stacy in this universe and they'll get together. And I don't know, I'm just speculating at this point, but it was a great movie. And if you stuck around to watch this whole thing, thank you, because I really went off on this one. I mean, oh, this is, wow, going on for a 40-minute video. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. And hey, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, do what you do. Fox Demon Master out.